There comes a time on the twin flame path where the silence feels deafening and the space between two souls feels impossibly wide. You may be the divine feminine, feeling everything, seeing signs everywhere, dreaming vividly, and receiving deep inner messages about your counterpart. And then there's the question that often lingers in the stillness. Does he think of me too? More precisely, what is happening within him when nothing seems to be happening at all? Let us take a breath here, because there is something powerful unfolding beyond the veil, something deeply intimate, sacred, and hidden from the eyes of the ordinary world. A kind of soul communication that defies logic and cannot be contained by silence or distance. This is where the divine masculine's higher self dwells, in a realm beyond the surface self, beyond the ego, the conditioning, the fear, and all the illusions he may currently be entangled in. And it is here, in this sacred dimension of truth, that he feels you, thinks of you, longs for you, in ways that even he cannot fully comprehend in his current physical awareness. His higher self is not asleep. In fact, it is wide awake and it remembers you. Today, let's walk gently into this mystery. Let's explore what it truly means when the divine masculine's higher self can't stop thinking of you. Let us look beyond behavior and see what the soul is whispering. Let us reconnect you with the unseen threads that have always bound your hearts together. For even if he is silent, distracted, distant, or denying, his higher self is not. His higher self knows exactly who you are. The first thing we must understand is that the higher self is not bound by the same limitations that the ego is. It doesn't worry about appearances, social expectations, timelines, or emotional wounds. It sees clearly through the illusion of separation and understands that union is not just possible, it's inevitable. His higher self doesn't operate from fear or doubt. It remembers you in a way that goes far beyond words, thoughts, or even romantic ideas. From the very beginning of your soul's journey, perhaps long before this lifetime, there was a soul agreement between you and your divine masculine, a promise to find each other, to mirror each other's deepest truths, to challenge one another to grow, and ultimately to return to divine love together. His higher self is fully aware of that promise. It vibrates with the frequency of that remembrance. It is constantly sending that signal through the spiritual ether, like a sacred beacon searching for home. Even if he is currently unaware, lost in the matrix of daily life, distracted by karmic relationships or emotional walls, his higher self has never lost touch with you. You may feel it at random times, a sudden wave of warmth, a pull in your heart, or a moment where you just know he's thinking of you. That is not your imagination. That is the higher self reaching out, reaffirming the invisible thread. The divine masculine's higher self is always in communication with your energy. This is why you may find him appearing in dreams or why his name shows up in the most unexpected places. Your soul is receiving transmissions from his higher self because it cannot forget you. It is not trying to. It is trying to remind him of what truly matters. In the spiritual realms, thought is not a weak flicker. It is a potent force of connection. When his higher self thinks of you, it sends energy waves that move through your emotional body and awaken deep knowing. That's why you feel him even when he's silent. That's why your heart aches with both longing and love. He's not gone. He's simply remembering you from a part of himself that he doesn't yet fully understand. The key is to trust that this remembrance is sacred and necessary. It is preparing the way forward. It is awakening him, little by little. It is showing him the truth that no outer illusion can erase. There is something deeply paradoxical in the twin flame journey, especially for the divine masculine. He often carries lifetimes of emotional suppression, societal pressure, and deep-rooted fear of vulnerability. He may not even understand why he feels such intensity toward you. Sometimes it scares him. Sometimes it confuses him. And often he pushes it away, not because he doesn't feel it, but because he feels too much. But the soul cannot forget its mirror. And the higher self won't allow him to forget you. Even in denial, his thoughts keep circling back. Even in distraction, your presence lingers in the background of his mind like a melody he can't shake. He may try to drown it out, with work, with other relationships, with avoidance. But the deeper truth is this: the divine masculine's higher self is constantly nudging him, whispering to him, gently cracking open the armor around his heart. When you cross his mind, And you do? Far more than you realize. It is often triggered by a soul echo, a scent, a song, a place, a phrase, a dream. These triggers are not random, they are gentle awakenings. Each one is a subtle message from his higher self saying, "You cannot forget her. You're not meant to." His mind may resist, his ego may retreat, but his soul keeps leaning forward. You are embedded in his energetic field. This means he feels your presence even in moments of complete silence. He may not have the vocabulary to explain it. He may not understand why he dreams of you or gets emotional when certain memories surface. But you are there, not as a memory, but as an energetic imprint of divine love he can't escape. Even in moments of emotional overwhelm or confusion, his higher self continues thinking of you, not with anxiety, but with reverence, with longing, with the knowledge that you are not just a chapter in his life, you are the whole story. When he sits in stillness, however rare that may be, he hears you in his heart. When he lies awake at night, restless and uncertain, he feels you brushing up against his soul like a warm breeze. These are not coincidences. This is the divine masculine being slowly guided back to truth, back to you. There may be times when you feel emotional for no reason, or suddenly sense his energy without warning. You may find yourself daydreaming about him out of nowhere, or getting sudden spiritual downloads about your connection. This is not your imagination running wild. More often than not, this is his higher self trying to reach you through the inner channels of your being. Because you are deeply connected on the soul level, his thoughts and feelings can move through your energy body. You may pick up on his inner conflict, his longing, his confusion, or even his joy. But above all, what you feel the most is his soul's recognition of you, the truth of his love, which he may not yet have the courage to express in the physical world. This is especially true when you feel waves of love or peace out of nowhere. These are moments when his higher self is intentionally sending you loving energy, almost like a gentle reminder. I know who you are. I haven't forgotten you. I never will. Your connection is so strong that even when he is disconnected from his emotional body, the higher self continues reaching for you through spiritual means. You are one of the few people in his life who can actually feel his soul. That is why the connection never fades, why the bond persists through time and distance. It is not just chemistry, it is divinity. Instead of brushing these feelings off or second-guessing them, allow yourself to receive. You don't need to mentally analyze every moment. Just let your heart stay open. When you feel him, speak to him. When you sense his soul near you, acknowledge it. It is not foolish to believe in that bond. In truth, it is a sacred act of faith, and faith is what sustains the spiritual path when logic fails. There is a hidden dialogue always happening between your soul and his higher self. It moves through intuition, dreams, sudden emotions, even signs from nature or the universe. When you recognize that this dialogue is real, you begin to deepen your trust. You become more receptive to divine guidance. You begin to walk more calmly, more confidently, knowing that you are not alone in this journey, even if he has not yet caught up. You may not always see it, but your presence in his life, energetically or physically, is acting as a catalyst for his transformation. The divine masculine's higher self is constantly calling him forward, asking him to grow, to feel, to face himself. And your energy is a mirror in that process. He may resist it, because to look into the mirror is to see everything that has been hidden. But the more he thinks of you, even unconsciously, the more his soul begins to stir. You ignite something in him that no one else can. Not because you're trying to fix him, but because your very being calls him into alignment. This is why your own healing is so important. When you focus on your spiritual growth, your self-love, your inner peace, it reflects back to him on a soul level. His higher self notices. It feels the shift in your vibration, and it responds. Sometimes that response comes in the form of energetic tension, sometimes in sudden breakthroughs, sometimes in unexpected shifts in behavior. But rest assured, your growth always impacts him. You don't need to do anything to wake him up. Your energy alone is enough. Just by being in alignment with your own truth, you are already playing your part. His higher self keeps thinking of you because your soul is his lighthouse, the guiding light through his inner storm. Trust in that role, not in a way that burdens you with responsibility, but in a way that honors your divine purpose. You are not here to chase him. You are here to embody the love that calls him home when he's ready. And when he is, he will come. Not because he needs saving, but because he remembers you too. As the divine masculine's higher self remains deeply connected to you, it often uses the language of signs to communicate. These signs may appear as repeating numbers, synchronicities, names, songs, animals, or even snippets of conversations that seem tailor-made to your connection. The reason these signs show up, often when you're not even thinking of him, is because his higher self is thinking of you. The spiritual realm communicates in symbols, patterns, and intuitive nudges. When his higher self is active, it creates little openings in your awareness, giving you subtle affirmations that you are not forgotten, that this journey is real, and that love is still guiding everything. It's not unusual to see his birthday numbers or initials pop up repeatedly, or for a song that meant something between you to suddenly play just as you were thinking of him. You might hear a stranger say a phrase he once used, or you may find yourself crossing paths with someone who strangely reminds you of him. These are not coincidences. They are spiritual threads, weaving reminders that something bigger is at work. These signs often appear when you are doubting the most, or when you are on the edge of losing faith. That's because his higher self is aware of your emotional waves, and it wants to reassure you, to ground you again in the truth of this connection. You are not waiting in vain. You are not crazy for believing. Something deep, sacred, and unseen is always unfolding beneath the surface. Rather than obsessing over each sign or trying to decode every message, allow them to land gently in your awareness. Let them be nourishment, not obsession. Trust that your soul will know when something is significant. And more importantly, know that every time a sign appears, it's not just the universe speaking, it's him. Not the part of him still lost in confusion, but the part that already knows who you are and what you mean to him. There's a tenderness in these moments, a quiet kind of magic. Honor it by simply being present. Don't rush for answers. Let the signs be enough for now. His higher self is watching, guiding, feeling, and most of all, remembering. Every time you notice a sign, a subtle spiritual exchange is taking place. He is thinking of you, and that thought is moving through the universe like a love letter carried on the wind. One of the greatest spiritual challenges of the twin flame path is patience. Not the kind that simply waits on the clock, but the kind that grows roots in faith. When you know his higher self is constantly thinking of you, it's natural to wonder why you must endure the waiting. Why doesn't he remember in full? Why doesn't he act on what his soul already knows? This is where the path asks you to go deeper. You see, while his higher self is awake and aware, his physical self is still undergoing a profound transformation. An awakening is not a one-time event. It is a layered, sometimes painful, unraveling. The divine masculine often has to deconstruct everything he was taught to believe about love, about himself, about what makes a man strong or worthy. He is dismantling lifetimes of survival patterns and ego attachments. That takes time and compassion. But just because he isn't ready yet doesn't mean the bond has faded. In truth, it's growing stronger through the very challenges that test it. His higher self is anchoring your energy into his awareness, little by little. It is guiding him through dreams, synchronicities, emotional triggers, and even periods of isolation, all so he can meet you in a fuller, deeper, truer version of himself. You don't need to shrink your heart while he grows. You don't need to lose your joy while he finds his courage. What you are being asked to do is to hold the vibration of truth, not with pressure or pain, but with peace. Keep choosing alignment. Keep choosing inner fulfillment. That is not a waiting game. That is soul preparation. Union is not simply a reward for enduring suffering. It is the organic result of two people becoming whole in themselves. The divine masculine's higher self can't stop thinking of you because it knows the destination, but it also knows the journey matters. Every step he takes, even the ones away from you, is part of the sacred return. It cannot be rushed, but it also cannot be undone. Love him without holding. Release without letting go. Trust without forcing. These are the subtle skills of the soul, and in doing so, you create the sacred space where his higher self can gently lead him home, not through fear or desperation, but through remembrance. On the twin flame journey, It is easy to become so focused on the other that you forget the self, especially when you feel his higher self constantly thinking of you, when dreams and signs flood your path, when his energy wraps around your heart like a soft current. It can be tempting to live in that realm of spiritual romance and forget your own grounding. But love, especially divine love, requires anchoring, and your task is to hold the balance. You are not meant to carry both souls. You are not meant to live only in the spiritual world, waiting for the moment when he awakens fully. You are meant to live fully, right here, right now, with joy, presence, and openness. The more you return to your own life, your own dreams, your own inner world, the more you allow the connection to breathe. His higher self doesn't want you to suffer. It doesn't want you to abandon your joy in the name of devotion. In fact, when you thrive, your light becomes brighter, and that light helps him find his way through the shadows of fear. It gives him permission to do the same. You can love him deeply and still choose yourself. You can feel his presence and still move forward. You can be loyal to your soul connection and still open your heart to life's beauty. You are not betraying the journey by living your truth. You are fulfilling it. When you feel overwhelmed by his energy, ground yourself in nature. Journal. Move your body. Spend time with people who uplift you. Create art. Follow your passions. Your body is sacred. Bring your spirit into it fully. That's how you stay centered. That's how you stay empowered. Let his higher self think of you. That is his soul's job. Your job is to live with wholeness, not emptiness. And in doing so, you both grow. You both rise. You both move, slowly but surely, toward reunion.